Now we'll move into segment 2 on storylines and close this piece out. This is Amber, attention. By the way, notice is a synonym for attention. Learn to notice and name your storylines according to behavior they support, and if you need help, let your friends do it with you. Mindset, it's not okay to run red storylines. You choke them off and stop them. The behavior is you take action now and begin to only run green storylines. Result, which will encourage you to continue, is good results and feel good about them. Both things will be there. This is kind of fun, little slide. Here's your outcomes. When you run green storylines, you get behaviors that support your outcomes and lift them. When you run red storylines, you have behaviors that forget all about your outcome and get stuck in S. You know what S is. This is fun. For non-English speakers, S is a synonym for shit in English. So people are all thinking that's what I mean, and no one will ever say it. Then I tell them S is situation, then show them this. So that's people have a good laugh out of that. Storylines can drive whole industries. Look at this. A U.S. industry ran the storyline, improving quality means higher cost. It did not contest it or change it until they lost 65% of market share in a major industry to a single foreign country. What behavior does this support? You build crummy cars, and that's what happened. Interestingly, a tiny little city in Japan called Toyota, no one had ever heard of, listened to a guy named Deming with a different storyline, which was improving quality is the best way to lower cost. The behavior, that's why today Japan still has the highest selling cars in the world many, many years later. So now you need someone to get up and record these, your second share, and you can pick whatever topic you like. I think storylines about yourselves is a good place to talk, and ask people to run them and tease them out, and they'll tell them to you. And if not, you can jumpstart with a little inquiry like, you know, what do you say about the kind of people you are? What do you say about the kind of product you produce? Or and so I recommend you just record these. I would get maybe 6 or 8, and then you can pause, and now you want the group to color them. But here's the difficulty. Let's just say a storyline like, we are arrogant. I can't tell you from that simple statement what the behavior is. People could have a behavior like, we are arrogant and we've got to change our view of ourselves and view of others have of us. That's the we are arrogant's a green storyline. We are arrogant, and if you don't like it, we don't care. That's a red storyline. So go back and say, now who gave me the storyline, we are arrogant, and tell me what behavior you had in mind. And you'll find most of the time the storylines are red. Then ask them, can you convert it to a green storyline, or can anybody else in the room help them change this into a green storyline? So you go through and process them, and then here you can also look at storylines around customers and sponsors. The storylines about management are always fun and interesting. If there are 2 teams in the room, I have them tell the storylines about each other. And you can spend an hour or 2 doing this, and it's kind of fun. So I talk about the fact I used to go mountain biking in Moab, Utah, and I'd come back down the road one day. I'm flying down the road, and I go across this. Does everybody know what that is? And the answer is it's a cattle grate. You can see here there's a fence back here, and this will keep the cows from going over to the other side of the pasture, wherever you want to keep them. That wasn't very interesting. Then I saw this. So I stopped and went back to this house and said, the farmer came out, rancher came out. I said, does this work just as well? And he said, yes. And I said, does the cow have to see this in order for this to work? He said, no. Now, I'm not an expert in cow psychology, but there's something about the way this looks to a cow's mind. These look like they're holes in the grate, so they won't cross this either. So what's this about? This is about the storylines that limit us in our lives, especially ones from childhood, red storylines. They could actually be just as easy to cross as walking across this gate. I love this quote of Henry Ford. Whether you think you can do it or think you can't, you're right. So let's talk about what do you do when a team member runs a red storyline, and you do it all the time, point to someone on their list. You try to argue them out of it. No, that doesn't work, because I've already said storylines by definition are arguable, and there are people that like to just simply engage you in argument about them, so that's not going to be effective. Oh, before you ask these questions, ask them to raise their hand and raise yours again, NLP style, to stimulate them to do it. Probably no hands will go up with that one. Would it be useful to inquire regardless of consequences and say, you know, if we ran that storyline, what would we find? Usually most hands won't go up with this one either, although I find this works actually quite well. And one of the reasons I love the storyline piece is that I developed this back when I was still working as a consultant, as most of the material in these workshop slides. And I, a year later, would walk down the hall and I'd hear someone on the telephone, on a speakerphone, saying, if we ran that storyline, what would the consequence be? And how about offer a replacement? I think, as in many things, giving someone some advice, I think you should say to them, you might be running a red storyline. Would you be interested in having me provide you an alternative? And again, have the class raise their hands before you answer this. But I find this works actually pretty well. So then you have them go to their workbooks and check boxes in here for what they're going to do. And now you close this section out with an opportunity for discussion or comments. And there we are. So next is number 18, emotions. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.